Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Vaccines are difficult to talk about, and I want to establish a distinction. I think that there's a distinction between a vaccine that is developed specifically for an event like the COVID-19 or the H1N1 vaccine or whatever. When they have something they're responding to and they quickly roll out a vaccine, I think that there's a really big difference between that and something like the polio vaccine. Although I know there's issues with the polio vaccine, which is why I chose it to use as an example. So even with vaccines like polio, there are issues with how it's measured, issues with having situations where the polio vaccine itself was bad, right? And that was in 1955, and that, I can't remember the name of the incident. Cutter incident. There it is. It was just a few days ago. But there are instances of even well-respected vaccines having adverse consequences for parts of the population. And is that an acceptable risk if the vaccine works, right? I don't know. And that's up to you, right? And there are usually trappings in our legal system, in our laws, that give you the right to refuse the vaccine on grounds, on legal grounds or on religious grounds or on whatever. You can say what you want if you don't want to participate in said vaccination, I believe. But this is a different world, I think. And they're trying to use this pandemic to further a lot of their own ends. And I'll show you what they're trying to do with the laws. But as far as the vaccine goes, I'm very skeptical of this. And I'm very skeptical of these two news reports, the headlines anyway. This one, I'm not so skeptical of. Global News on April 28th is reporting, should the COVID-19 vaccine be mandatory? New polls suggest Canadians are divided. What's that, 50-50? Who knows? 60% respondents believe people should be required to get the vaccine once it's ready. The other 40% think it should be voluntary. So, I mean, once it's ready, what does that even mean, right? What does that mean? Does that mean that somebody's tested it and it's been safe? When you get to scale, so like if you test it on 10 people, you might get a representative result and it might be positive, right? And you say 1 out of 10 people got a cold after doing this test or whatever. And that maybe is part of your evidence that you should go ahead. 90% of people were fine. And then you have a bigger study and you test it wider. But once you get to scale, then you start seeing maybe the unintended consequences. And then scale is like 60 million, right? Or whatever. And we'll get to a situation where it was 60 million people and it resulted in 60 victims. But again, what's the cost and what's the efficacy of the virus, right? What's the balance hit? At what point do you have to hit the balance, right? How effective does the virus have to be before a number of deaths are worth it, right? Or a number of consequences, maybe not even deaths, but maybe it's just as bad, right? It will forever change your life, right? So in April, 60% of Canadians agreed that you should have a mandatory vaccine once it's ready, whatever that means. And by May 13th, today's the 21st of May. Can you believe it's May 21st? Wow, where did this year go? 72% of Canadians support mandatory coronavirus vaccine, Ipsos poll suggests. Oh, so it jumped by 15% or roughly 12% in not very long, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. April 28th to May 15th, 13th. Weird, right? It seems like, the news is trying to tell you how to think about this. But here's something that happened in the UK. Brain-damaged UK victims of swine flu vaccine to get £60 million compensation. This is March 2nd, 2014. Okay, so this is going back, the swine flu happened in 2009. Patients who suffered brain damage as a result of taking a swine flu vaccine are to receive a multi-million-dollar pound payout from the UK government. The government is expected to receive a bill of approximately $60 million, with each of the 60 victims expected to receive about £1 million each. That's about 2 million Canadian dollars. Or it used to be. Peter Todd, a lawyer who represented many of the claimants, told the Sunday Times, there has never been a case like this before. The victims of the vaccine have an incurable lifelong condition that will require extensive medication. Following the swine flu outbreak of 2009, about 60 million people, most of them children, received the vaccine. It was subsequently revealed that the vaccine, Pandemrix, can cause narcolepsy and cataplexy in about 1 in 16,000 people, and many more are expected to come forward with the symptoms. Narcolepsy affects a person's sleeping cycle, leaving them unable to sleep for more than 90 minutes at a time and causing them to fall unconscious during the day. The condition damages mental function and memory and can lead to hallucinations and mental illness. The Pandemrix vaccine was manufactured by pharmaceuticals giant and GlaxoSmithKline, The pharmaceutical giant is GlaxoSmithKline, which refused to supply governments unless it was indemnified against any claim for damages caused. The company will pay the bill and then claim the money back from the government. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever that pandemics increase the occurrence of narcolepsy onset in children in some countries, and possibly in most countries. Emmanuel Minot, a specialist in sleep disorder at Stanford University in the United States, told Reuters. Interesting, right? Okay, so I'm blocked from Michelle Rempel, and the vaccines are the public consent is being manufactured in the news, right? Oh, look at these Ipsos polls. They're representative. 72% of Canadians think it should be mandatory. And I don't know if this was mandatory, but it had adverse effects for people, for enough people. Is 60 enough? 60 too many? I don't know, right? Here is Ms. Rempel, and we're going to look at the law side of this now, talking about this, making the correlation between virus and potential consequences is maybe misinformation, right? But these people here, this is the Minister of Health, this is Patty Haydu, and she's supposed to be in charge of like Health Canada and in charge of making the decisions with regards to what's best for Canadians with regards to their health. And she gives counter advice. Well, we're going to watch this whole 2 minutes because this is representative of the leadership through this pandemic. This video is it's very, very good. I wish I could find the link of it without Ms. Rempel, but whatever. I'm blocked by Ms. Rempel, but the internet is a thing. So here it is. Man, watch this video, share this video. It speaks for itself. I'm going to talk a lot about it afterwards, and we're going to go down the other side of this, but man, this is crazy. Here we go.
Need to know the risk remains low today.
Top health officials want to make it perfectly clear.
The risk is extremely low for Canadians. That there is no need for Canadians to be alarmed.
They're battling fear and also misinformation that's popping up on social media.
It's unfortunate that misinformation is creating a perception for Canadians that belies the reality.
Officials say Canada's ready to quickly detect and stop the virus from spreading.
Any imported cases, we will be rapidly preventing any further spread.
We can stop this at the border. But
Sir, did you notice any special screening at customs?
Not at all.
The long-term implications of shutting down borders is one, they're not very effective in controlling disease, as in fact, they're not effective at all. We see is a global pandemic, meaning that border measures actually are highly ineffective and in some cases can create harm. And we see
testing positive for COVID-19, despite the fact he had absolutely no symptoms.
My temperature was normal. I didn't feel ill.
So our advice right now is there is no need to use a mask for well people.
So scientific research or literature is clear on that masks reduce the pandemic.
One of the things that I read recently that I thought was fascinating was that if we all stopped moving for 2 weeks and nobody talked to anybody for 2 weeks and we all just stayed put, in fact, we would see this virus die. That is the reality. The virus.
2 weeks to see the virus die. That is the reality. Do you remember that? I remember that. That was much. We've been in quarantine for 55 plus days, right? We've been in lockdown for 55 plus days. Not 2 weeks, a lot more than 2 weeks. And we're being told that we need to wait longer. We need to do more, flatten the curve. And now that the curve's flattened, we have to wait for a vaccine. And don't you dare talk about misinformation. Don't you dare talk about misinformation. And so Ms. Rempel says these are the same people that want to set up laws to prevent the spread of misinformation on COVID. She says from her United States cottage or wherever she's tweeting from these days. I think that's just funny. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, regardless, the link will be in the description. The reason I shouldn't have done that is because I leave all the tabs up and then I copy the links over. Yeah, it's glamorous work, everyone. So we've got vaccines people are definitely 100 or 72% in support of mandatory once they're ready, but whatever that means. And then here's the other 2-minute video, okay? And according to Rachel Harder, MP, your freedom is under attack. On May 11th, the Trudeau government minister announced combating false and misleading COVID-19 information is important. And I've been highlighting this. All of the COVID-19 money that's been rolled out, the billions of dollars that's been rolled out, each one has riders that attach money to fighting, false and misleading COVID-19 information. All of it. This is just one example from April 7th. But almost every day the rollout, and I was showing this a few days ago on my show, it's got money dog-eared for fighting false and misleading COVID-19 information. That is, they want to limit your freedom of speech. They want to be able to take videos down and not say we're censoring this video. They want to say, we are keeping you safe, the public, because this video is dangerous for you to believe. So it's so dangerous for you to believe. If you believed it, then you would be putting yourself at risk, and the government has to step in and censor that for you. That's how they're positioning this. They're not censoring people. They are protecting you because you require protection. That is as simple as I can put it. Okay? Here's a more complicated way to put this. This is important. We're going to watch the whole 2 minutes. I'm sorry. I know this is long. Here we go.
Have you noticed that there's videos that go up on Facebook or YouTube and they're there one day? You might share them with a friend, or maybe they're shared with you, and all of a sudden they're down the next day when you go to look for it. On April 15th, a story broke that disclosed the government's intent to start censoring information. They intended to put legislation in place that would make it an offense to spread so-called misinformation on COVID-19. This made many of you outraged, and I heard from thousands of Canadians to that extent. Now, it's right that this made you upset, because it's your freedom, it's your charter right as a Canadian citizen.
I think it's notable that Miss Harder needs to legitimize people being upset about this overreach. I think she does. I don't think she's wrong. And that's a problem. Right? We have been so infantilized. We've been talked down to. We've been told we need protection. We've been told we're racist. It feels like we're a senior in a high school of Canada, and maybe not even a senior, like a grade 11. Like they don't really trust you to go grocery shopping yet. Like, he's probably going to stop at 7-Eleven and get Slurpees instead of getting the milk. Or if he gets the milk, it'll be 2% and Slurpees. Maybe I did that. But still, the point is, why is the government treating the citizenship of the country as if it's not responsible enough to make up its own mind? Why are they limiting COVID-19, but aliens are fine for you to believe in? Or Atlantis, or what's another crazy conspiracy theory that you're allowed? Flat Earth, right? You're allowed to believe the Earth is flat. We're not going to remove that. You can do that. Chemtrails, yeah, okay, fine, you can believe that. So I mean, and I mean, chemtrails are a whole other wormhole, but why this? You have to ask that, right? Because it's not defensible. They can't defend what they're doing, so they're flipping the script on you. It's so dangerous, we need to keep you safe. You're right, citizen, to be outraged about this. Your charter rights are at risk. Yes! It's weird that she needs to tell us. Carry on.
After all, who gets to decide what is categorized as false information or misinformation versus accurate information? I mean, who ultimately is the information czar? Well, the Government of Canada, of course. Last night at Industry Committee on May 11th, the Heritage Minister said this. He said that he's going ahead with what he's calling an emergency fund. And as a part of this is $3.5 million that is going to be used to, and I quote, combat false and misleading COVID-19 information.
This is an updated one, May 11th. This is one from April 7th. You're going to be so interested to find out who's getting all the money? It's so crazy. Here we go.
No legislation was passed, no discussion was had, no debate took place in the House of Commons. Therefore, no accountability. Canada, we need you to stand up for your freedom. It's a severe overreach of government authority. It's a severe overreach of power. I've heard from, like I said, tens of thousands of you that this is not okay. Since when is it acceptable for the government to censor the information that Canadians should and should not have? This is not democracy, And this does not respect the rights of every single Canadian across this country. No one likes misinformation. That's fact. But why should the government decide what counts and what doesn't, what's in and what's out? Free speech is part of a free society. It's how we share ideas. It's how we engage in creativity. It's how we advance.
Okay, another aspect to this is there's a movie, Mothman Chronicles or something like that, and the whole premise is that these things predict the future. And there's a scene in it where I think it's Richard Gere. He's walking along. He says, "Why do these things want to talk to us? Why can they see into the future?" And the guy he's talking to says, "It's not really about seeing into the future. It's just seeing about more than we can see, another perspective." And he says the example that the guy makes is, he said, "See the window washers up there on a skyscraper?" He said, "They can see." He says, "Imagine something explodes over there and they can see." Something was going weird with my computer. Sorry, I paused it. It seems okay now. Anyway, they can see further than we can see because we're down on the ground here and they're just higher. So it's a different perspective. And I thought that was interesting. And I think that I lost the parallel that I was trying to make, but I think that it's interesting when people with a different perspective are pleading with the public to protect their rights, right? Here is the one of the many millions of dollars. Here's Canada.com, the Canadian Heritage Minister, who is this gentleman. And yes, there's a reason I'm showing this photo. It's from 2001, from when he climbed the CN Tower to talk about climate change. I hope you've watched Planet of the Humans, because it's a scam. Okay. And he says, supporting Canadians to think critically about online health information. Now more than ever, Canadians need reliable news and information. The Honourable Stephen Guilbeault, Minister of Canadian Heritage, announced today that the Government of Canada is investing $3 million in several organizations through the Digital Citizens Initiative Digital Citizens Contribution Program. This funding will help combat false and misleading COVID-19 information, as well as the racism and stigmatization that are often the result. Upstream, Media Smarts, Société de l'Acadie de Nouveau-Brunswick, COVID-19, I'm not going to try it. Institute for Canadian Citizenship, Digital Public Square, Metro Toronto Chinese and Southeast Asian Legal Clinic, Asian Environmental Association. Asian Environmental Association. Here's $64,000. Fight health-related misinformation online, please. Right? Yeah? Oh, okay. Sure. Good job, Mr. Guilbeault. Here's CBC carrying the same water for the Liberals. This is April 19th. How to tactfully discourage the spread of false pandemic information in chats and email. This is encouraging and coaching on how to approach your racist or bigoted family member who's spreading false information about COVID-19 on like Facebook and stuff. It's weird. It's like the ads when they tell you to go punch a Nazi, right? Like Nazis deserve punching and stuff. Weird. It's very strange. Here's another one. Federal government open to new law to fight pandemic misinformation, right? This is April 15th. And they're pushing this. They're manufacturing consent and they're pushing this. And they're saying it's for your safety, citizen. Comrade. Oh, citizen. The federal government is considering introducing legislation to make it an offense to knowingly spread misinformation that could harm people for your safety, says Privy Council President Dominic LeBlanc. LeBlanc told CBC News he's interested in British MP Damian Collins' call for laws to punish those responsible for spreading dangerous misinformation online about the COVID-19 pandemic. LeBlanc said he has discussed the matter already with other cabinet ministers, including Justice Minister David Lametti. If the government decides to follow through, he said it could take a while to draft legislation. Legislatures and parliaments are meeting scarcely because of the current context of the pandemic, so it's not a quick solution, but it's certainly something that we'd be open to as a government, said LeBlanc. NDP MP Charlie Angus said he would support legislation to fight online misinformation. It's for your safety, citizen. And this guy is getting $380,000 to combat COVID-19 misinformation. Doesn't that make you just... I mean, do you understand now who's on the other side of the keyboard when you say this is true? this is true. Here's some studies. And they say blah, 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 blah. And it's all BS. It's all garbage. It's all ridiculous talking points. It's almost like reading a copy-pasted copy pasta, right? And if you don't know what that is, sorry. But it's like you can't fight with a hydra, right? As soon as you start making headway on one, the other head comes out and starts nipping at you another way. And it's just, you can't win. This is coordinated warfare. This is not a mistake. This is what they're doing to fund their ideology, to push it forward, and they're closing ranks. And the only way to stop it is to listen to Ms. Harder, to stand up and demand our rights. And I don't know what that looks like, but it's very clear that we ourselves, through our tax dollars, are funding this crackdown. We ourselves, through our tax dollars, are funding this money to silence anybody who has a dissenting opinion. They want to censor you, but they want you to embrace it. They want you to censor too. It's not enough to win. They have to have you enthusiastically cheering them on. Then they've won. And it's happening, right? It's happening right now. Like, go on Facebook and ask about this link. See what people think, right? And then follow it up, right? Is that worth it? $60 million? Did it save the people who it was intended to save, right? Did those 60 kids pay the price for everybody else? And that's okay with everybody? Is that how this works? And furthermore, can we not discuss it? Because discussing it is dangerous for you. It's dangerous. You shouldn't be able to talk about this, citizen. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co. Check out SpeakingMoistly.co. Apparently, I talked too much and I talked over Greg, so I'm sorry about that, Greg. I will try to talk less. I have my own show. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.